Is it just me, or do the months seem to be going along like weeks at the moment? Well, it's time to have a chat about April. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be wrapping up what I thought was a pretty productive April really. I got through 5 books and I'll go through those in a moment, including my book of the month, so stick around for that. But I always like to start with sharing some stats with you from the channel. So I put out 13 videos last month, and just looking back on the previous couple of months, it looks like I put out an average of at least 12 or 13 per month, and I'll continue to do so as it's a nice round number and it'll maintain the consistency there. Current views on the channel are sitting at 5.6k, which is a pretty big spike from last month, and I'll let you know the reasons in a moment. And I'm currently sitting at 95 subscribers, so I'm almost there guys, almost at the 100 mark, and I wanted to personally thank the most recent subscribers who have recently jumped on board. I really appreciate it, and it does mean the world to me. Now I'm going to go through the lowest performing video and the highest performing video. Now there's a stark contrast between these. So the least performing video with only 12 views was my snooker video that I uploaded, where it was a segment that I introduced so that you can get to know me a little bit better on a part of my life that spans 30 years, where I fell in love with cue sports at the tender age of 17 and have been playing on and off ever since, and even to this day, which I really enjoy. And currently I'm in the middle of an 8-ball team competition where finals are just about to happen, so it's very exciting stuff. But ironically, the highest performing video was another snooker video, but it was only a short, and that showed where I demonstrate a shot that's used by professionals on the world stage. I sort of imitated that, where you pot a red into a corner pocket and send the white ball off 5 cushions to come back around for position on the next colour, which is black. And it went everywhere. It went to Thailand, the USA, the UK, Asia, Europe. It went all over the place. Can't figure out how that happened, but it was a massive spike in views, and it was just a little experiment that I wanted to try, and it certainly created that spike, which is why the views are so high at the moment. So it was an interesting experiment, and I'm toying with the idea of launching a separate Q Sports channel, which is very interesting, but it's a long way off yet. Just got to work out what I want to do in terms of content and whatnot, but yeah, it's certainly food for thought. Alright, so let's get into the books I did read in April, and we'll start with Along Came a Spider by James Patterson. This was the first Alex Cross thriller, and I've been wanting to get into the series for quite a while and decided to pick it up, and it didn't disappoint. It was a very quick read. I really enjoyed the character of Alex Cross and the crime that was featured in the book, and everyone knows that Along Came a Spider was adapted into that movie from the early 2000s, I think, starring Morgan Freeman, and it was interesting how different the book was to the movie, quite a lot different actually, but a very, very enjoyable read. Also, I started and finished Once You Dead by Peter James. Now, this particular book, I actually touch upon it and did a little review on the last video I did that wrapped up the week, and if you haven't checked out that video, check it out. I won't say too much more about the book here because I do go into a little bit of detail reviewing the book on that last video that you can see up in the corner. So if you haven't checked it out, do that. But if you haven't read Peter James, I highly recommend you do. He's a very, very smart crime writer and doesn't leave any stone unturned. He ties up all the plot lines very, very neatly, and they're very exciting reads, so I highly recommend Peter James. Alright, now I also squeezed in a classic last month, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I also discussed that one in a previous weekly video as well, just did a mini review on it. I didn't love it, but I did enjoy it, and I certainly do not regret picking this one up. It was a great read, and enjoyed that a lot. And of course I did Swan Song by Robert R. Mccammon. So I did a reading vlog on this one. If you haven't caught the reading vlog, have a look at it. It goes through about a half hour of different videos that I spliced together, giving my thoughts and impressions as I went through the book. This was very, very epic. At what was it? About 907 pages, and did take me about 10 days to read, but I did mention in a previous video that this particular book, I didn't want to rush it. I wanted to immerse myself into the world that Robert R. Mccammon created. Post-apocalyptic America. He just he created the world really, really well. He created engaging characters. I found that one part of the book lagged a little bit. Was it as good as Boy's Life? No, it wasn't, but it was still a very, very good read that I did enjoy. So if you haven't caught the reading vlog, watch that by all means and let me know your thoughts on that. Okay, so book number 5 is my book of the month. Now, before I actually reveal that, I just wanted to share with you what criteria I have to make a book of the month worthy of that position. So there's a few ingredients that go into it. So it has to be a book that I read through very quickly, and you know, that's not rushing the book. It just means that the narrative pace kicks along at a really, really good speed and keeps me turning the pages and wanting to know what happens next. So that is a key ingredient. An engaging storyline that's addictive is very important. What I mean by that is, apart from the obvious, is that if a book grabs you and you look for every opportunity to read the book. So I mean, I'm talking if you've got it on digital, if you're reading some pages while you're boiling the kettle, or just snatching 10 minutes here and there just to read the thing, to get through it, because you always want to know what happens next. That's very important. And the characters have to be multi-dimensional. They've got to be well written, they've got to be richly written, and they have to drive the story, which is really, really important. And the content has to be original, and more importantly, the book, after you close it, needs to linger in your head for days afterwards, where you're still thinking about it up to you know, a few weeks after finishing it. I think that is very, very important for choosing a book of the month. So my book of the month for April was Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, which it ticked all the boxes. It was brilliant. I read it in 2 days, I think. It was just insanely good, and a close second would have been Swan Song. That was great too, but there can only be one book of the month, and Dark Matter was it. Blake Crouch has become a day one author for me, and I will be pre-ordering his next book called Upgrade, which I think is available in July here in Australia. I previously read Recursion, which was unreal, and before that in January I read the Wayward Pines trilogy, which was absolutely brilliant. Okay, so that's how April went, and I was really happy with that. Now, moving forward, there is something I want to share with you all. I'm going to make a slight change to the content on the channel. It's not a major thing, but in a typical month, towards the end of the month, I'll put a TBR video out for what I'm going to be reading for the next month, and then shortly after, the monthly wrap-up video comes out. And I thought, look, just like Ollie, I'm not trying to copy you, Ollie, if you're watching, but I think it's a great idea to not have a TBR as such, because there's been months where I've selected a TBR, just went along my bookshelves and picked out 6 or 7 books I'd like to read in any given month. And what I've found has happened is I haven't completed the TBR as planned. There might have been delays where a book took a bit longer than I thought, or by the time I got to another book in the stack, it was probably something I weren't in the mood to read and ended up picking something else. And what happened last month was Swan Song took a little bit longer than I thought to read, and I thought, yeah, I'm not going to get through my TBR, and I didn't, because I picked about 6 or 7 books and there were 2 that I didn't get to. And then they just kept getting put off and put off, and I thought it is a little bit of pressure placed on myself, and I thought, well, I could probably do away with TBR videos as well, because you know, some months I wouldn't mind just picking something completely random. For example, I've recently bought the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. I might just pick up the whole trilogy and read that for the month, or I might just pick up Stephen King's It, because I've been wanting to jump back into that for quite some time. I find it really, really attractive not to plan the TBR as such and just ride by the seat of my pants and just pick up what I'm in the mood to read, I think. Having said that, I did release my TBR for May in the previous video on the channel. If you haven't checked it out, please do. That's an achievable TBR, and the fact that it's part of the project I'm participating in, Horror Mayhem, that's pretty much fixed. And moving forward though, for June in particular, I'm looking forward to wiping the slate clean. I just want to start from scratch, not have anything stacked before me that puts pressure on myself, because if I see a stack of 7 books there and I know I've got to read those the next month, it's just putting pressure on. And I want a little bit more freedom. And also, if a new book comes out that hasn't come up on my radar and I just pick it up on a whim, I'll read it and it won't be on a TBR as such. So I thank you, Ollie, for sharing that, because it's a very, very valid point. And the prospect of being free and just reading what I want on a whim and having a little bit of spontaneity with what I'm reading is very, very attractive. So that's what I'll be doing. What will happen though is you'll know what I'm going to be reading and what I have read, because the weekly updates will I'll share with you what I've been reading for that week and what I'm going to be reading the following week. So it's going to be a lot easier, and I'm not going to know how many books I'm going to read for that month. I'm not going to plan to read 6 books or 7 books. If I just don't plan it and have a bit of freedom and pick up what I want to read, it'll mean that some months I might read 3 books, some months I might read 4 or 6 or whatever the case may be. But I don't want to say I'm going to read 7 books, because if life gets in the way and if there are any delays, you fall behind and the TBR doesn't come to be. So that's what I'll be doing moving forward. It's only a very, very minor change to the channel, but I'm looking forward to June, where it's just going to be a whole clean slate, and I'll be like, well, what do I feel like reading? Do I want to just pick up It and just read it for the whole month? Do I want to pick up a trilogy, or just something completely random from my shelf? Do I want to blindfold myself and just reach out for something and pick something completely random? Or do I want to read another Alex Cross book, or what have you? So this is something really exciting, and I'm looking forward to it. So just wanted to share that with you, because it has been on my mind for a little while, and have been stressing myself out a little bit, and no one wants that. And I just think having a bit of freedom will be great. So there you go, that's what's going to be happening. So as always, please don't forget to like and subscribe and offer any comments below, and I'll always respond to those. But thank you again, Ollie, for sharing that with me, because it did inspire me to take up that idea and not plan as much, because it just isn't really productive. So until next time, guys, see you later.